Okay, gentlemen, you are here because you are all suspects. And because you all claim that you're 100% healthy, you shouldn't have anything to hide, should you now? So just think of this as a friendly conversation. Good. Good. Pretty boy, you're up first. Hey, now, I get it. You're cool. You're hip. You're green. Some would argue a little too green. How many times have you been sprayed? I bet if I tear off those leaves, I won't find a single bug. Why don't you just make like a tree and leave? Okay, Macintosh. You may be able to keep the doctor away, but this ain't no normal checkup. Don't you think I haven't seen your kind before? To be honest, you look like the suspicious one of the bunch. Pretty nice can there. You still hanging out with your buddy BPA? Oh, geez, did you fart? Get out of here. Well. Would ya look at you, all pieced together like a toddler's Lego set. Fork over those ingredients, why don't you? What are these, hieroglyphics? Right when I get this Google Translate working, you're gonna get your box right back in this chair. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic manner. Today, we are talking about why time spent learning where your food comes from is time well spent. Because, as we know, everything that we put in or on our body has either a direct or at the very least indirect impact on us, our health, our well-being, and longevity, which we're kind of, just a little bit, focused on here. And don't worry, if reading food labels wasn't your chosen second language in grade school, like it was mine, I could only dream. We are going to break down what you need to know and consider when purchasing them, touching on the essentials such as conventional, organic, GMOs, wild, grass-fed, farmed, pesticides, how, quite frankly, perfection doesn't exist, and how this modern day of food consumption may be more of a game of risk mitigation. And as always, we will end with a few strategic tips to put yourself in the best possible position to be successful and healthy over the long term. So first, let's start with controversy number one, GMOs, or genetically modified organisms. And here's my current take, which is always subject to change because we're always getting new information. But GMOs are exactly what they stand for, genetically modified organisms, an intentional alteration of the organism's genetic sequence to produce a particular result, and many times with good intentions, such as improving the food's bioavailability, increasing farming yields, protecting crops from predators, and helping to ensure food for the globe's ever-growing population. Now, with all the good comes the less than optimal and unknown. Let's start here. To date, there hasn't been any solid evidence identifying that GMOs are actually hazardous to human health. Now, with that being said, there are many questions around their long-term effects, with cellular toxicity, allergies, and genetic disruption being some of the top concerns. There are also some worries that these foods might entice indirect changes in metabolic processes. The gist here is the story is still being written. And while the data continues to trickle out, I want to draw your attention to something that we know is a problem. in my eyes, like I alluded to before, the reason that you may want to be cautious around GMOs and traditionally conventional foods is less around the genetic modification and more around the underlying reasons for the genetic modification. For example, pest control. The food is modified to be resistant to pesticides. That means the food can be sprayed with pesticides without killing it. And let's run with this for a sec. Enter public enemy number one, glyphosate, otherwise known as Roundup. The most talked about pesticide in all the land because it is sprayed throughout the fields of our most prevalent and subsidized crops, in particular corn and soy, owned and operated by the very publicly criticized company that also owns the patents on the GMO seeds, Monsanto, which was recently purchased by Bayer. Now we're talking health here, so let's table the politics, table the shady business practices, which have been covered on many other forums, you don't have to look far, and focus on the health problem here. This pesticide is highly controversial. It has even been identified as a probable carcinogen, meaning something that probably causes cancer, by the World Health Organization. However, the ultimate decision on its safety comes down to the regulating bodies in that respective country. And many of these regulating bodies allow it, just as the EPA in the United States. The research to date has shown that this substance can cause damage at the cellular level. It can also harm the ever so important microorganisms that make up our microbiome and increase the risk of cancer. A little unsettling, I know. And even more unsettling is it could be found on everything from produce, which it's sprayed on, animal products, which is in the feed the animals eat, and many of the processed foods you find on the shelves of the supermarket. Because how do you think they're made? Now, you might say, hey, what about organic? Well, organic is non-GMO by default. The use of GMOs is strictly prohibited in organic production. Organic farmers can't plant GMO seeds, organic livestock can't eat GMO feed, and organic manufacturers can't use GMO ingredients. This means no glyphosate or other pesticides, right? Well, unbeknownst to many, there are dozens of organic pesticides that are approved for use on organic crops. Wait, what? Organic pesticides? Yep, these are identified as chemicals found in nature, extracted and sprayed on our crops. And since they haven't been synthesized in any artificial ways, bada bing, bada boom, that organic seal can go right on the box. And I'm sure you're gonna ask the question, so I'll tell you, just because a pesticide is organic doesn't necessarily mean it is less toxic than its synthetic counterpart. Like anything else, context matters. The dose, the frequency of the application, and mode of action all contribute to toxicity. And all that is decided by the governing body. And in the case of the United States, that's the Environmental Protection Agency. What the freak? There's a common adage in the scientific community, and I think it pertains here. The dose makes the poison. But there is good news. We humans and all organisms were built with unbelievable flexibility, detoxification systems, and a pretty dope internal military to help us out on this journey we call life. Because, quite frankly, perfection doesn't exist. And we were built for an imperfect world. We were built to deal with insults, both internally and externally, fully equipped with in-house healing capabilities. From macro situations like wound healing to micro situations like DNA repair. We have been responding to these natural insults for millions of years. And if we weren't, we wouldn't be here today talking on the tube of you, bro. The kicker here, and this is gonna be my weekly phrase we explore its origins. Interesting. The kicker here is the fact that we've been optimized to deal with these external and internal insults in acute circumstances, not a consistent siege of lab-derived toxic chemicals over a 30-year span. And when it gets laid out like that, the correlation between aging and the metabolic diseases that plague our Western society seems pretty obvious. No? So just like anything else and everything else we talk about on this channel, the best thing that we can do at the individual health level is put ourselves in the very, very, very best possible position to be successful, to live a vital, healthy life as long as humanly possible. And that right there is the essence of longevity. So let's talk about some tips, tricks, and strategies to do just that. Here are some ways to mitigate your risk as it pertains to food. Do your best to get as close to your food as possible. Obviously, growing it yourself is great, but that's not realistic for many. So aim to buy local, where you can talk to the farmers, understand their methods, and make an educated decision accordingly. Your next option would be to find a reputable grocery store. And just like you would with the farmers, ask them questions. They may not know, but I'll talk about a workaround in a second. From there, you want to make your decision on organic. Yeah, it's a little more expensive, and like we discussed before, there are no guarantees. But at this point, in my eyes, it's one of the ways to mitigate the risk of the evils we know about. And here's that pro tip: look at the labels of the food you're about to buy. Whether it be produce, whether it be meats, whether it be processed food on the shelves, find that company and look them up online. If they're reputable, they will definitely have a presence and they will be telling their story. Many times opening up about their farming methods and how they operate. Gotta love the internet. For example, Cal Organics is one of the produce providers for many Whole Foods locations, which I shop at. Now, when you go to their website, you can see all about their farming techniques, frequently asked questions, how they approach pesticides, and everything. So do a little research, do a little homework. You are consuming this food every single day. You might as well know what you're putting in your body. That's just me. Next, wash it, wash it, wash it again, wash it some more. Wash your produce, wash your meat, wash your fish, especially if you're gonna eat the skins. Even if it's organic, it could have been sprayed or it could have been crop dusted from nearby farms. Just wash it. And if you want to go a step further, especially with the produce, remove that outer layer. So for example, with lettuce or romaine, you remove the leaves that, have been on the outside because it went through the farming process and then it went through the transport process. Just another way to mitigate the risk a little bit, remove that outer layer. Also, get to know your Clean 15 Dirty Dozen. These are the fruits and vegetables that have been identified as either more heavily sprayed or less heavily sprayed, and kind of helps you decide where you can go conventional, where you probably want to go more organic. A common rule of thumb is if it has a skin that you're not going to eat, it's typically okay from a conventional standpoint. But if you're going to eat the skin, the outer layers, the leaves, things like that, you probably want to head more towards the organic. But again, wash them. Lastly, look and see if your food source is coming from sustainable farming. The soil will be richer, more nutrient dense, the foods will be better. For animal products, this means free range, grass-fed, and wild. We got two homes here, the earth and our bodies. We might as well take care of them both, right? And remember, health is a multi-pronged strategy. So you definitely want to mix these food sourcing tips with the other longevity-focused, health-focused topics we cover on this channel, such as fasting, meal timing, nutrition, movement, and sleep. And if you do all that, you'll be cruising down Longevity Boulevard in no time. That was really corny. I'm just gonna end it there. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. As always, if you have any comments, questions, any random thoughts, let me know down below. Yeah, no, I'm really gonna go this time. All right, peace out.